Let me call this meeting to order. This is going to be a pretty quick meeting, I hope. Gavin, would you come up and present your bill? I'm sorry, Representative Tanner.
497. It should be LC 400332. This bill is a DNR department bill. It pertains to boat registration. I'll go through the bill fairly quickly. If you have any questions, please let me know. Section 1 on page 1 primarily is cleanup language. Really doesn't change any intent on the first page. Same way with the first part of the second page down, and if you'll notice, all the fees have remained the same. The real changes in this bill start around line 47, and just to explain the how you currently register a boat in Georgia is for a 3-year period of time. So if you have a vessel under up to 16 feet, you pay a $15 fee, and that boat is registered for 3 years. The registration comes renewable on your birthday. So my birthday's in February. I would renew for 3 years. At the end of that month, my registration would be up in the year that it was expiring. The problem with people who own boats, if I sell you my boat, then you're required under current law, if it's within 60 days of your birthday on the year that it expires, you can go ahead and renew the registration for the full 3 years by paying the $15. If it's more than 60 days, then you're required to do a change of registration to your name and pay a registration fee, and then when it gets to the time that it's going to expire, you have to renew it at that point. There's been a lot of confusion among boat owners about this, so what the department and what we're proposing to do is just clean that up and just make it, if you purchase a boat, you renew the registration in your name for a full 3-year period, pay the registration fee. I talked with, in my area, I cover Lake Lanier, and I talked to the Lake Lanier Homeowners Association to see if they had any issues with this, as a large number of owners of boats in the state, and they were agreeable with this change. Also, we spoke to the Marina Owners Association about this bill. They're also agreeable. And that's what is occurring in line 47 down, and then striking the current language about the change of ownership application fee on the top of page 3 all the way down through the center of the page. There's some other explanation there about the department may issue any certificate number, expiration decal for a marine toilet, certification, again, some additional cleanup language that the department wanted to address. And then at the top of page 4, the language it struck, that's just old, out-of-date language when this law was originally written, just cleaning up from the old law in 81 and 74, and that's no longer needed or necessary in this current bill. One of the other things that, and I think I skipped over it, but one of the other things that this bill does do is currently there is no late fee for boat registration. So what's occurring is anyone who has a birthday that's basically in the fall, a lot of people just won't renew their boat registration until the following summer. The problem with that is that the state gets a lot of federal money, about $9 per boat registration for boat safety, and that money is calculated based on the number of boats registered in Georgia on December 31st. So the department would like to be able to have a $10 late fee added on. They send out a notice 60 days prior to the registration being up, notifying the person that it needs to be renewed, and they want to add a $10 late fee. The other thing that this does, under current law, if you send in an incomplete application to the department, there's no time frame on how long they have to keep that. So if they communicate back and say, Representative Dusty, your boat registration application is incomplete, they have to basically keep that for an eternity, even if you're not satisfying the requirements. What they're proposing is putting on a 60-day requirement that if you don't have that complete within 60 days, they discard that application. I've had some folks discuss that with me and with the thought that may need to be increased to 90 days. Well, I'm open to that, and I've discussed that with the department, and they would also be fine with that if the committee saw fit to make that change to 90 days. That's the essence of the bill. It's trying to clean up and clarify for boat owners how to register a boat when they purchase, and we feel like this will be a cleaner process. I'd be glad to take any questions, but I would ask for your consideration for a due pass for House Bill 497.
birthday tax. Mr. Atwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions here. Other than the late fee and the registering of the vessel pursuant to an application by a new owner, there are no increased fees in this bill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And I'm trying to pull this out of the weeds. The whole idea behind having registration fees is to deal with stolen vessels. Is that correct? The registration itself?
Well, it's that stolen vessels, and also with the ability, if something occurs on one of our lakes or waterways, that someone can track the owner of that vessel.
So the idea behind requiring a expedited procedure, and especially requiring a person to be up to date when a vessel is transferred to another person, would be to fulfill that mandate. Is my thought. Is that correct?
That's one of the reasons. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
Other questions from the committee? Mr. Hightower.
Going to the 60 days, back on line 143 and 144, I believe the way that this works is you have an application that you fill out, and then you tear off a piece, the bottom portion of the application, whatever it is, then you mail it in. That bottom portion serves as your evidence that you've sent it in. I believe that's how it works. Do you know if 60 days is enough? In other words, will I send it in? Will I have that paperwork processed, the numbers back to me within 60 days, or does it need to be more or less?
Yes, sir. That's a good question. There's actually two 60 days referred to in this draft. It's referred to in line 58, and that's the area that I was specifically speaking to relating to an incomplete application. If you send in a complete application, the turnaround is about 2 weeks. That they're getting these back is about 2 weeks. They send them out twice a week. The specific place that you referred to on line 144, that is in compliance with Coast Guard regulations, and that covers what you're speaking of. Is that your proof that you've applied? So if you're checked, you have that. And again, that is in line with Coast Guard regulations.
I mean, I've never had an issue with it. I've always got mine back very timely, but I just didn't know because I think in the past few years we changed who we were using to process those papers, and it's been fairly quicker. But I just didn't know. I was just curious. If this is within 2 weeks, I think 60 days is plenty of time.
Yes, sir. That's the only issue that I would foresee if there was something that you left off and it was an incomplete application, just the communication time back and forth between the department. But as far as proof of a complete application, getting it back, it should be well within that 60-day time frame.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? We have anyone who wants to speak either in favor or opposed to this bill? Anybody from DNR want to say just a very short word? Colonel?
Yes, sir. This will help us a lot. A lot of customers are paying for a boat because of that 60-day rule. They may only they'll pay the transfer registration, may only be good for 90 days or 120 days. And they're upset that they can't go ahead and get 3 full years registration at that time.
Most importantly, it would help y'all on getting a reimbursement from the federal match or the federal funds.
Also, along with that, what happens is a lot of the applications stack up and come in at once, so it creates a big bunch of boats moving through at one time, and that can delay it just a little bit, and people have a harder time getting to one funds. So this will spread that out.
Currently, the renew of boat license is what, January 1? Is currently the birth month.
Right. Mr. Chairman, unless I think if it's owned by not an individual but a company, it's at the end of the calendar year.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Do we have anyone else wishes to speak? If not, what's the feel of the committee? We have a motion to pass. We have a second. Now, last chance. Any other questions? If none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee.